That's pretty slick.
Yeah, Rodecaster Pro 2. Yeah, I just found out all these little features on it. I like this one too. I'm like, hey, you, Ben. Get the out of here.
Oh, that's awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I'm like trying to do stuff like that on Twitch or anything. You'd take like hours trying to do it. And now, yeah, they come up with these devices.
Oh, really? What's like bleep out and stuff?
Just any kind of like effects or cut scenes or transitions, like anything to make it sort of hi-fi looking.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, it's same, I guess, with especially like in the music world. It's just so easy to make things that sound really good now, like all on just a laptop versus having to spend thousands of dollars on synthesizers and everything that you used to have to do.
Oh, interesting. I guess I just don't know about that. Well, like I guess like everything makes it easier, but it's also like complicated too, and that like figuring it out. But I guess probably overall, still it's like a net easier for anything like that.
Yeah, it's. I feel like it's a bit of a two-way, like plus and like it opens up the door to everybody, but at the same time it makes it to where now everyone is equally as good. So what can you do with this thing to be
interesting,
to stand out with it? Like what, you know what I mean? So it's same thing like with especially in the rock world, this like the development of program drums and being able to have amp simulators that sound just as good, if not better, than an actual amp. Like you can spend $100 versus thousands on a tube amp, and you can get a couple plugins and a decent interface, and you can make stuff that sounds just as good as anything else out there if you know what you're doing.
Interesting.
So at that point, it has to be down to just the song versus all everything else can be accounted for.
Yeah, wow, which is good. I guess previously you needed to be in like a studio or something that like had tens of thousands of dollars of equipment, and now you can do it for relatively cheap and have the same like audio quality. And
if you know what you're doing, I'm a bit of a believer. I'm probably biased being a drummer, but I'm still a believer that live drums just sound better. It's more of like the feeling of it. Even if you can edit. You can never edit, like it's the same thing with auto-tune. You can like make a voice perfect, but when you super auto-tune it, you can hear it.
Yeah, it sounds
manipulated and fake. To me, that's the same thing with drums. If there's hyper-edited, you just kind of feel like this just feels, it doesn't feel good. It feels just generated. I don't really know how to explain it. It just doesn't feel
authentic.
Yes. And
do you think part of it is like the actual like physical percussion of like hearing a noise in it? Like, because I was thinking about like I was in Payson the other weekend, and I was at my buddy's cabin, and he has this place that's right up next to the forest preserve, and there is every day at like 6:30 p.m. there's like these elk that walk by, and so we were out there looking for them, and like at certain times we were like trying to attract them. So I had on my YouTube like an elk bugle, and I was trying to make the noise, like I was doing it super loud, and I think actually one of them got it, or no, this was one that we already saw one out there, and we got its attention doing this bugle on my YouTube, or from YouTube, just launching it from my phone.
Right.
But I was thinking maybe like the physical percussion or physical, I don't know the correct word, or like the physical force of the actual sound hitting the walls, or like, being a real animal is probably the main difference than it coming from a cell phone.
Oh yeah. Well, you got to think too, it's like a cell phone speaker's tiny. Well, like a quarter of an inch big, versus like a full diaphragm of a fully grown elk with the guttural projection of it. Trying to like I'll try to FaceTime with the dog that I had that just passed, or even this new dog that my girlfriend and I have. We're fostering, but it's a little likely to end up staying
as
with us.
Your dog.
She's very sweet.
Nice.
But like, there's a difference between trying to, like, if you're in person, you call the dog's name, the dog instantly turns around.
Yeah.
But through the cell phone, through FaceTime, it doesn't really work that well.
They just don't even listen. They don't even like hear it.
Yeah, and I think there's definitely something, I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely something to that. Like, it's just not, if it's not generated from the same source, then it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
And to mistake that is, I think, an error, at least in terms of, like, if you think this is, like, back to a musical sense, if you think that the quality of that is equal, I think you're wrong. And there's a lot of people that would say I'm wrong, including some people in my own band.
Oh, really?
Which is true. Better. Like, depending on the song, it's not entirely necessary, but for certain things, I think it's absolutely better. It doesn't necessarily mean that the listening experience is going to be drastically different, but I think it will age better. I think it will be appreciated and felt on like a deeper level. That's
age
my
better
personal.
if it's less tuned, you're saying? Or it'll be more, better received if it's less tuned or if it's more tuned.
Oh, just like you don't want it to sound sloppy, but you want it to sound like you want the humanity in it. You know, that's what attracts people to people.
Yeah, right.
You know, otherwise it's kind of enters
like
in like the
of
what do you call it, the uncanny valley of sound almost, where it just sounds weird, man. Like there's so much stuff I hear on the radio now. I can't. It's hard to listen to music nowadays for me, just because so much stuff just sounds too perfect. I'm like, this just, I don't know. I feel like that South Park episode where everything just kind of sounds like shit. This is what it sounds like. I'm like, dude, this is, and it'll be some huge song, and it's like, this just sounds so terrible to me.
Oh, interesting.
And I can't really explain it, and I'll play it to someone else, and then I just feel like the old guy who's just yelling at things now, and the person's looking like, I think it sounds great. I'm like, I don't know.
Maybe you have like you're able to like make more distinctions than the average person.
Well, yeah, working. I mean, I don't work as an audio engineer full time, but I definitely have done enough to where I can tell, I can hear edits
more than the average person for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's what I think. I forget who it was. Someone described like intelligence in a particular field is your ability to make more and more distinctions. So like if like a person like you and I just think snow is snow,
right?
But to someone who lives in like an Arctic environment, like Eskimos, or I think that's maybe the incorrect term now, or something. There's
that's how I know.
There's like 11 different words for our word snow. Right. So like there's the snow you can walk on, there's snow that you're gonna fall through, the snow that you can eat, the snow that you should stay away from, the snow that you can build with. There's like 11 different words for our one word snow. So they're extremely intelligent within the word. Within like the snow realm because of their ability to make multiple distinctions to our one distinction of snow. So maybe because you have like this ability to discern all these minute details or small differences, it makes maybe you're listening in this particular instance you're listening a worse experience. But
that makes total sense. I guess it just comes down to like personal taste and philosophy. Some people it just doesn't register. It just goes right over their head. So it's essentially to them, I am the crazy person, like in that sense, because it's like it just sounds the same.
They don't even see.
They don't hear. If you don't hear the difference, then what are you talking about?
Yeah,
you know, which I get, and I can sympathize with very much. But, it's like if someone doesn't know what steak tastes like, you take them to Outback Steakhouse.
Yeah,
they're gonna love it.
Yeah,
because who wouldn't like a good steak?
Yeah,
unless you are vegan or you have some meat. Weird allergy. I don't know what that even would be, but they're gonna love it. But to me or to you, in your mind, you're like, I know for a fact that if you go to like a Capital Grill or Mastro's, the like it's just gonna be better.
Level,
right?
Yeah.
And if you try to tell this person, hey, like I know that you think this is good, but trust me, this can be so much better. Like I don't know, man. It's me. How can it be better?
Yeah,
and kind of but it's all about the preparation, the care of it, and how it's handled. Like just the quality of the product. I feel like that's kind of the difference. Like, and it's to some people it doesn't matter. It's just
details.
Meat's meat. Yeah. I like it. I get the protein from it. It tastes good enough.
Yeah. I feel like maybe on all people like understand that on certain levels because like that's like what makes great music great is that everyone resonates with it.
100%.
So maybe even though they're not able to intellectually define like the minute differences, it's something that like just resonates on almost like a subconscious level.
Yeah, it just kind of appeals to like that primal. I don't know, man. It just makes you move, makes you feel it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Well, so you're a very atypical rock star, I would say. Like, I don't know, maybe if there is a typical rock star, or maybe like it's just like
the stereotype of a rock star.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. The stereotypical rock star. I'd say like that doesn't, because it's interesting. So we started training jujitsu together. That's when we first met.
Yep.
You said something like, I'm in a band. Like that's what you do. I'm in a band. In my head, I'm like, oh, you probably like play in a garage with some friends, and maybe occasionally play at a restaurant or something.
Totally in your rights to think that's 99.9% of people.
Yeah. If they say I'm in a band, I'm like, oh, okay. So you just play in your 400 square foot garage or 300 square foot garage, and
technically that's still mostly true. Like I just came from my practice studio. That is just a tiny little room off of Van Buren that I rent, and I just can make noise there. So I just practice there. Yeah.
Oh wow, is that why you do it? Because it's a contained noise place?
Pretty much. Like I live in a condo complex at the moment. Want to change to a house, but even then I'm kind of wary just because like I don't just like as long as I'm touring, especially I don't necessarily want to make it known, hey, there's drums in here, and I have a pretty good, I have a nice drum set. I've, you know, shout out DW, great drum set.
Nice. DW?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Gotta love them. But
awesome.
I don't want to necessarily do that and then be gone for a long period of time.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like
They're just
a little weary of that. Yeah. And so right now it's, you know, I'm in one of many rooms of people that have all their musical gear down there. So I feel like there's a little bit of, I don't know. That's just, it's nice. And I also like having, it's a little bit far from where I live right now, but I like being able to kind of mentally, it's like going to the gym. Like, when I go here, I'm mentally prepared to be there. Or at least I try to be. This doesn't always work. But
it's almost like going to an office to work. Like you know, during the pandemic, I was able to work from home, and a lot of people like adopted a sort of a hybrid of working from home and working in the office. But for me personally, I like to go to an office because like this is when I'm in the zone. This is when I'm working. I kind of like to separate my like home and work. And so maybe it's like something similar. You go to
100%.
Yeah.
I had my computer set up in my bedroom over the pandemic, and I went crazy.
Yeah.
I felt like I just became a prisoner in this room. I never left. I slept there. I woke up. I just walked 3 feet, sat down, and started working on stuff. I was like, man, I gotta separate.
Need to escape.
I need, you know,
need the secret fight club that we had going on.
Yeah, it's like just have to create a space that's going to cultivate the best results for what you're trying to do there.
Yeah,
and so
exactly.
Bedroom's already the bedroom.
Yeah.
Need it for sleeping. Shouldn't be an office.
banging.
Shouldn't be that. Because then if I try to sleep, I'm still thinking like, well, there's things I want to work on with this, and that. Just got to, you know, I used to be a lot worse with that. I'm still not the best at it, but trying to be, better at leaving, you know, having my areas where I work on those things and then leaving them at that door, so to speak.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So I guess for my, you know, perception of like the archetypical rock star, what's your experience with like, you know, either band members? Do you even talk to other people in bands, or is it mostly like you kind of converse with your own band?
I mean, obviously, mostly with my own band. Or same, I've been in a lot of bands. Whereas the band I'm in now, the other 3 guys have only ever been in that band.
Oh, interesting.
So to me, that's a very rare situation of like 3 guys who've been at it forever, and they do make it, you know, so to speak, which I think we even consider, like with Nothing More, I don't think I mean, I would say that we consider ourselves like a pretty, a small big band or a really big small band. But we're trying to get to like that next headlining level of things, you know. And
that's probably what it is.
Much easier said than done, obviously. Like that's what everyone's trying to do.
Getting to the level that you're at is lot, you know, probably you're in the 1% of 1%.
Oh yeah, it's huge. And I definitely don't, you know, I don't take that for granted at all. It's very, very cool. But you know, there's always room to improve.
Of course, yeah.
You know, with everything. And as soon as you don't feel that way, then that's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's when maybe people get stagnant or stop making good product, or, you know.
Yeah, same with like our live show and stuff, like anything at all. I'm always like, okay, well, how can this be better? How can it be constantly improved?
Better experience for the people who come to watch, better experience for
everything. Like just where we're playing, like this whole song, playing it great, but this one little spot we could tighten that up, so let's tighten it up. You know, like anything like that, like always kind of trying to think about that sort of stuff. But
nice.
Back to sorry, I kind of derailed what you were talking about there.
No worries. No, so Nothing More is a band. It's probably, like you said, like a really big small band or like a small big band. What do you?
Yeah. Well, you were mentioning if I talk with a lot of other band members.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
sure.
Mentioned, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I sort of. Like I don't, it just depends, man. Like I think there's certain people that are a lot more social in that aspect. I've you know, I feel like you'll meet the band guys who are very in the scene. They know everyone. They're very good at the socializing aspect of it, and that's very smart. It's like good, it's quality you want to have because you want to be
networking.
You know, like the show is the show, and then the other 23 hours of the day you're having to live with everyone else out there.
Okay.
And, you know, you don't want to be someone who's uncomfortable to be around or anything like that. Like, you can be like, I feel like I'm more on the, like, especially now that I'm not drinking or anything, like, I just kind of like to go to bed, or I'll just
stay away from
watch jujitsu videos or play, you know, Zelda on my Switch or something like that. And just kind of, I don't know, like, I've partied and done all that. I'm good for now. So I don't really feel that urge, so to speak. But I try to, you know, if it's nice to
socialize.
Yeah, reach out. And I'll have some conversations here and there with some other guys, just because it's more of like questions that they will understand, you know, about certain touring things or just different band dynamics. Like you can't really reach out to anyone else who doesn't know what I'm talking about necessarily. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So
It has to be people within that realm. And so,
totally.
Yeah. And then also too, so I guess like on a particular show, there's multiple bands in one show. Is that typically the case?
Yeah. It just depends.
There's like openers and then like kind of warm ups and then like the main event, the headliner.
Yeah. So you refer to them as like openers, the direct support, then the headliner. And then, or if it's a co-headliner, you'd have whoever's supporting for that. Or at festival shows, there's obviously the headliners there, and everyone else is just the support. So it kind of depends what the tour is. Like we're about to go out on a headliner, second week of September.
Oh, nice.
More Midwest, East Coast. I don't know the dates off the top of my head. I used to like look at all that stuff and memorize it ahead of time, and I just don't anymore.
Yeah, like I know this day I got a flight, and then I'll figure it out from there.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I just try to not focus on that because it doesn't really. It's something to focus about that doesn't change anything. So instead, I just try to focus more on making sure like everything I need to have prepared is prepared, making sure I feel like my playing is ready to go, because a lot of the stuff that we'll work on is not playing related. Like I'll end up working on my computer in some way, shape, or form versus actually playing drums. So like I've been wanting to get on my kit and play a lot this last week and a half, and I think today and one other day were the only other chances I got to really do that. But
and so what are you doing
from now until I leave on Sunday? I'm going to be doing that every day, which will be great.
Playing on your kit?
Yeah, just it's a lot of the songs I've played them so much.
Mean like the actual drums?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So much of these songs I've played so many times, it's just kind of shaking the dust off, getting really comfortable with the muscle memory again.
Yeah.
At least for live shows, the drummer, any kind of musician, people who can like improv off the cuff like that. I guess you could say the same thing with jiu-jitsu. Like people who are able to just assess a situation in real time and adapt very, very well. Always a very impressive thing to me. I'm kind of the person who I like to have, solid plans. I like to have a rehearsed part that I can get down and dialed in and really just nail the pre-approved plan, so to speak.
Okay, sure.
In terms of parts, or even if I'm going to improv a thing, I'll improv stuff based off of like a couple different things that I've prepared. It's not just totally winging it.
Okay,
so I'll kind of go through all that stuff just to make sure I feel like I'm not second guessing myself when it comes to actually being in front of people, because I've done that a lot and it's not a fun feeling.
Oh no, that is not good. Yeah. Part of it is like anytime you become like self-conscious or you start thinking about yourself, that's when you start fucking up. When you can just get in the rhythm and just sort of almost get out of your own way and just and let that take over.
100%.
That's what helps.
Yeah, the getting out of your own way. That's a very good way to put it. And I feel like that translates into all sorts of stuff, man. But I guess you could say we'll just be more confident. And I've definitely seen a lot of musicians where it's like, well, they're not lacking in confidence, but it doesn't sound very good. And that always is kind of a funny. I don't know. I'm like, look at this guy.
That's not good.
But that's probably a better way to be than. I feel like I noticed that with myself. I'll struggle with that kind of confidence, even though I feel like it's like I'm like it doesn't sound bad, but I can't. I don't feel like I'm achieving this thing as well as I know I could, and therefore I'm like getting in my head about it, and then because of that, it's making it all lack. Whereas if I just kind of ignored that thought and just played, it'd probably be fine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Well, there's a healthy amount of both. I think it's important to have confidence and just at some point trust yourself, but it's also important not to have blind confidence or unjustified confidence. Like you said, there's people who are definitely not lacking confidence, but they have not too good at music, or it's definitely not. It's important not to overcorrect in that point and get too confident to where you're not self-critical at all. I think probably that self-critique and constant work on yourself is probably what makes you a really good drummer. I'm sure it's helped out your jiu-jitsu. You're a jiu-jitsu practitioner that is also extremely unique too.
Oh, like I said,
I think so. You're like I said, you're an atypical, or what I think as an atypical rock star. You're a pretty atypical jiu-jitsu guy too. I mean, there's as far as at one point at Blue Belt, you had a fucking Bible. Yeah, you're still Blue Belt now, but early into it, you had a Bible of notes on jiu-jitsu.
I had 3 of them.
You had 3 of them.
And one of them, the one that was the most full, got stolen out of my suitcase when my suitcase got stolen on a tour. And
what a cocksucker.
Since then, I've actually gone digital, which has been pretty great.
Nice.
Because rather than having to write all the stuff out, the whole thing started from just knowing that touring was going to, like, when I first started jiu-jitsu, it was when the pandemic was kind of just clearing up, but touring wasn't cleared up. So I was able to spend the first almost a year and a half of just like I can just go to classes. I don't you know, like I'll have to travel for recording and stuff like that, but otherwise I can just go, which is great because I didn't want to like I can't imagine what it'd be like trying to learn fundamentals and then having to take like 3 months off.
Yeah.
After like if I just learned triangles and then I came back 3 months later,
kind of restarting a bit.
Gone. Now when I come back, it's mostly just like feeling comfortable and getting my cardio back and kind of just like rubbing the dust off, so to speak. And you know, most of the foundational stuff feels still relatively familiar. It just kind of, you know, just takes rolling a couple times to get used to.
How long have you been training now?
I started in January, so coming up this January will be 3 years, so a little over 2.5 years.
Nice. That's very cool.
But so I changed it all to notes on the Apple thing, and I got it all nice and categorized, which is actually pretty great because you can put like screenshots of the stuff in there, which you couldn't do when I was just writing it out. So for example, like I can put, you know,
interesting
things, and I'll put the actual position in there. So now when I'm actually going through it,
visual reference.
Exactly.
That's pretty solid. Wow. And you just do that on your notes app on like Apple?
Yeah. And then you can also categorize it. So I have, you know, my different folders of the different people I'll take the notes from.
Oh, wow.
And then the different instructionals that I'll have that from. So I can just, exactly.
Yeah. Huh.
And I try to use it mostly like when I'm traveling, just if I'm not able to train, I feel like it's kind of similar to music in the sense of there's like with drumming, you learn rudiments, you learn patterns, you learn different types of coordination, and then there's applying it musically, which is basically like taking these concepts and applying it, like making it go from your brain to your limbs effortlessly in real time.
Yeah, interesting.
And then being able to do so in like a creative way, in a musical way, and not necessarily thinking about, like that's like the final goal is like you're thinking purely musically, you're not thinking about the rudiments. But when you start, you go, okay, well, I'm going to take this rudiment, I'm going to apply it in this particular way. Okay, that's interesting. Let me try it this other way. Let me try it this other way. I feel like you could do the same. It's like troubleshooting a new technique or something. When you learn it, you learn the mechanics of it. Okay, then now let's troubleshoot the problems. What if they react this way? What if they react that way? Here's what you can do. And then the final goal would be to where, like, when that happens, you just instinctively do the thing. You don't even think about the technical parts of it. You just know what to do.
Yeah.
So I feel like with a lot of this stuff, it kind of helps when I'm gone. It starts the first part of that process where it's just like it puts the idea in my head that these things are there. One problem I've run into is if I do too much of that, when I actually go to roll, I'm only thinking about all of those things. And I end up just kind of sitting there in like this frozen state of like trying to think about what comes next, and then I just get smashed.
Oh, no.
So I've tried to, I've kind of balanced it out, I think pretty well now, to where I'll focus on I'll always keep like 1 or 2 of those in mind that I'm sort of working on, just to take it nice and easy. But most of the time, I'll use it to go back. Like if a position failed, I can go back and be like, okay, well, let me see. Like, I know this one spot I've been working on here. I know it's in here. Let me go see. Okay. Oh, yeah, there's this detail here where if they react this way, here's what you can do. And I just didn't think about that. So then I'll kind of keep that in, like, just that one thing in mind for the next time that happens. I'm like, okay, make sure that they don't get, you know, this inside elbow on here.
Interesting.
Cool. Sounds good. And kind of just go from there.
Wow.
So I kind of use it now as more as that.
Seems like a pretty good way to do it. Although I see what you mean about like maybe there's too much sometimes and you just get to a point where you're like, fuck, I'm just like almost a freeze. Like how I typically do my jiu-jitsu is I usually have 2 or 3 sort of main general things that I'm working on. And I do that for like 6-month periods. So like right now I'm basically working on guard passing and guillotines. They're my main 2 focuses.
Right.
Every time that we come to class, I'm trying to work new creative ways to pass guard, work like new techniques, like hone some like loose passing stuff that I've been working a lot lately, and then try to insist guillotines anytime I see them, or to even use it to open to pass the guard. And basically those 2 things, which are huge general concepts in of themselves, like those are my 2 main focuses in all my roles right now.
Right. I definitely think there's a lot more practical gains to be had from that. Setting realistic short-term goals rather than like, I need to get better at
everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot better to bite it off in small chunks in that way. I've felt that way. I mean, granted, for the little bit I've been training, it's becoming more and more apparent that that's the way. Especially now that like going from zero knowledge of things to, I definitely don't have a full knowledge of everything, but I feel like the general positions I kind of have a basic understanding of now.
That's basically what blue belt is like you generally understand everything. You're not really proficient at really anything, is like at least a qualification to become a blue belt. You're not an expert at anything by any means, but you understand, you've been in most positions. Like you kind of have a baseline understanding.
Yeah, and like some just good general principles of, like the knee to elbow principle and things like that. It's once you kind of find yourself at like a little bit deeper waters, like I'll start messing around with guillotines myself the other day, and there's a couple times where I'll get it, and I'm just so focused on just getting to that position, and when I actually do get it, I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, now what? You know what I mean? And I kind of find myself freezing in like this. I kind of know what to do, but at the same time, I'm just amazed that like I'm.
Yeah, you're there.
Like, because I for the longest time never. It's not that I never saw them, but it's like kind of with arm bars, I kind of just put that on if it's obviously there, go for it, but otherwise try to go for something else because I felt like I'm just not the best at finishing these. So I'm going to try to work on like triangles instead of arm bars for the longest time.
Interesting.
Same with guillotines. I don't know. Anytime I had them, I just felt like it couldn't do anything with it. But now I'm kind of starting to be like, okay, well, maybe I don't need a submission off it, but I can get to a better position with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Same with like, I started doing that with Kimuras a lot, and found it to be pretty successful in that regard. At least when I could get to that, if I could establish it, maybe not getting a submission, but I could try to get to the back or something else with it. And I don't know. So trying to take things slowly like that and trying to at least, rather than like, okay, memorizing all these different reactions, like if I get to a front headlock, for example, just get one, practice one reaction. So that way, when I do get to this spot, I'm not just frozen there. I can just try to work this one. And if it falls apart, it falls apart.
Yeah.
But then I try it again and just go from there versus like trying to memorize all these different reactions. And when I get to that spot, what is it? What now? And then it's gone. Because there's so many positions like that when you're live rolling that it's a very small window that you have to advance your position or decide what to do, or you lost it.
If you think about it too long, the window's closed.
Yeah. So it's trying to learn under those parameters is pretty difficult. It's an interesting challenge.
You know, one thing that I've been trying to do lately in my teaching that is sort of my idea of trying to combat this a little bit is to do this game. I found it from someone else online, but this game called Designated Winner, where one person is the designated winner, like in a guard passing scenario. The person who's on top is going to pass the guard eventually, but the person on bottom is going to give, at the start, 20% resistance. So you're giving a real feel like you're actually resisting, but only 20%. And then maybe at this first level, no grips, you can post and stuff, but no actually gripping back. And so the person it should pass the guard every single time, but these has a little bit of resistance. So you can kind of play in the problem solve and see what is working, what's not working. And then we step it up from there. From there, you go to 40 or 50%. And now from here, the bottom person can have grips. They're turning it up a little bit. They're giving real resistance, but the top person is going to actually pass. Like eventually they're the designated winner. They're going to pass. And often I'll have to tell people, slow it down, take it down a second. We're just, it's not live rolls, but they're giving real resistance.
Right.
And so in that, I feel like it helps you just problem solve in those particular spots. Like I actually found the utility in it when I was injured and my shoulder was just fucked up and I just couldn't roll live. I wanted to take like a week off of rolling live, but we were preparing for a competition, and so I wanted to still roll. We went down to Tucson to train with my boy Anthony Burchak, and we'd like basically did a wrestling class and then an open mat, and I'm rolling with a bunch of people I don't even know, never met them before. And it's an open mat, and so I'm saying like, hey, let's flow roll at the beginning of this, and I'll just like realize, so like I'm flowing with people, but in a good flow roll, it's a real exchange just at like a lesser percentage.
Right.
And so during this, I realized like, oh fuck, all I have to do is just pull my leg out right here, or it just allowed me the time to think through the positions more and like discover parts of the technique that either did work or didn't work, or what I should be doing in particular situations that I get into. That going live, it just happens too fast for you to grasp it.
Yeah, there's just such a fight or flight instinct I feel like that kicks in, of just that it takes the technical side sort of out of it and sort of puts you into this like be fast and be strong mode, which isn't conducive for improving your technique necessarily.
No, it's not. Yeah, and especially at the beginning levels, like that will carry you a really far time.
Especially if you're big and strong.
Yeah, if you're big and strong and move fast and athletically, that'll carry you pretty far.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's good to try to work past that.
Yeah, it's interesting, like the flow rolling concept. Like you'll see people on Instagram doing that, and I definitely appreciate that more and more now. It's like that just seemed like being able to have a training partner where you can really do that in a way that you trust each other to not just start escalating into a full competition round.
Yeah, it's important. Yeah, and to have also those deliberate rounds where you're deliberately going at a lesser percentage, at like half speed or something. I think is important for your own development.
Yeah, like I've, Brian. I remember he mentioned this a couple times where like I'd get into top side of control, we'd start situational. And he would just roll me right over. He's like, "Oh yeah, like as soon as we started, you just like stiffened up as a board, and that's how I could just take you right over."
Oh, interesting.
So I'm trying to focus a lot too on just being able to stay loose because, again, like I feel like it's the same thing with music or even recording people in general. Like there's this kind of like a comfort that if you have, or like if you watch UFC for example, like when you see people, it's like, oh, they seem loose, they seem ready to go.
Yeah,
that person's probably going to perform better than someone who's like rigid and uptight,
yeah,
and they seem nervous.
Absolutely.
Like as soon as you get to that, and it affects the way you move, affects the way you react, it's probably what you're thinking that's actually affecting everything physically.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing. Like getting past that comfort mode, I feel like of feeling like you have to just be tense all the time and everything's oh god, it's a million miles an hour. So like okay, so now I'm just everything's smooth. It's just smooth. And when you do that, and actually kind of letting go, you actually will perform better.
Yeah.
Even though you feel like
counterintuitive.
Yes.
Yeah. With jiu-jitsu, with all of it. It's like probably with music, you see it with comedy, people who are like real uptight and like they're just not coming out well. When you're real smooth and relaxed, it just flows.
Exactly. And that's kind of the whole trick. It's like just one of those, it's really easy to say that and then doing it can just be
it's a whole
tough.
nother level. Yeah. It's kind of like goes back to like just stop focusing. Or for me, it's like anytime I get like self-conscious where I'm thinking about myself, it's like I'm thinking about the wrong thing. I got to like just put my focus outwards, and whatever I'm doing, that should be my focus. When that's my focus, I relax more. I'm more in the moment. When I start thinking about like maybe people's reaction to me, or anytime I start becoming focused on like the me, it fucks me up.
Yeah, that's dude. This last European tour that we just did, that one and the tour we did in the U.S. prior to that, I kind of started embracing this new philosophy of just not thinking about the show at all, unless I had to. There's a couple times where like there was some kind of technical thing happening that I had to go address before the show because I built a lot of our live rigs for the show.
You build them?
I mean, not like from scratch, but I did like all the wiring and MIDI networking and all the playback computer. Routing with everything's run through MIDI, which is basically like a digital protocol. It just tells things kind of what to do.
Interesting.
So whenever stuff like that tends to fail or if something happens, I'll kind of get called to like go fix it. There's one before a show that we were playing somewhere, some festival, and something wasn't working and trying to like figure it out. And then we're already like 5 minutes late. Okay, we got to cut a song, still figure it out. And we got it figured out, but it's like I had to go from that mode straight to playing.
Oh, fuck.
And stuff like that will still get in my head. But assuming none of that happens, I try to just not think about it at all. And usually when I do that, I used to think like, oh, that's the worst thing. I should be warming up, thinking about like, I should be playing the songs that are
people
like
are watching
the troubling songs. I should just kind of get 1 or 2 reps of those in first. And then that way I get it out of the way, like on my drum pad or something. And that way it's fine. And almost always I feel like, it's not that I would play bad, but I would be thinking about it so much like, oh, here it comes. Here's this part I've been practicing. Like, okay, I got through it. Let's keep going. Show's on.
Yeah.
And it's just always like this stressful sort of moment versus having the confidence of like, I've been playing drums for 20 years.
Yeah.
I wrote these parts. I played these parts a ton. I'm fine.
Yeah.
And I'll just put on a podcast. I'll put on actually like the Bob Marley Legend album.
Nice.
Super big one. Just kind of listen to it. It's like, okay, just...
relax.
It's just a good day. I'm just going to have a good time.
Nice. And just go out there and have fun.
And then I tend to, most of the time, like 95% of the time, I've felt like I'm playing better than I ever have.
Wow.
Because I'm not getting super in my head from before I even get there.
Nice.
You know what I mean? So, there's definitely something to that. I feel like, and probably, everything.
That's super cool. Wow. It's probably a legit thing that you have to practice to get over that in your own head because you're playing in front of a lot of people. Like what's like a typical show or what's like the most people you ever played in?
Oh man, that really depends. Like if it's a festival, those will obviously be much, much larger. Like if it's a headline show, anywhere from 5,000 to where I think with this one in France that we did, there was when we played that were probably around our area, maybe like 30 or 40,000.
Oh wow!
But
it's quite a lot of people.
It is, but it's after a certain point, it just becomes people.
Yeah.
Honestly, the ones that are a little more nerve-inducing are the really small ones.
Huh.
Like we did a 24-hour notice throw and go show on this tour we did like a year or so ago at this really small club, and there's people about where you are from where I am.
Oh wow!
It's just very, very small club. When people are that close, it's like, oh man, like this is a little tight.
Okay. Wow. You can like see their facial reactions, see their eyes, and
exactly. Yeah. And it also too, it's like, man, my drum. I know my kit's like this is loud, and so people are just getting bashed
blasted
in the face with everything I'm playing. And I don't know. I kind of get in my head about some of that stuff, and yeah. So I don't. Yeah, the bigger ones, the festivals. I'm at the back of the stage anyway. The stage is usually bigger at those festivals, so crowd's very far away. I actually feel a lot more comfortable.
You're just in your zone. You're in your own little area.
In terms of playing, and assuming that like everything goes fine. If there's technical issues, those shows are by far the worst because then you're like, oh man, this is a massive. It feels like the world's crashing. It turns it from like living the dream to a full blown nightmare.
Oh wow!
Versus a headline show, which we've had that happen at headline shows too. Like there's stuff that goes wrong inevitably, but when it goes wrong at a festival, it sucks.
God, that does suck.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's really cool. That like when it is that like you're living the dream, because that's fucking cool. You're making a living playing drums. Like what a great life.
Yeah.
Like what was it like? Did you work other jobs before you could become like a drummer full time, or at what point were you like full time? You said you were in a few bands before. Like, what was the progression of your career?
Oh man, I mean, depends how far back you want. Like, in terms of drumming being my full time job, that started in about 20. I want to say it was like either the end of 2013 or 2014. And that was with a previous band that was like, that basically put me under their employment. And then I went straight from that band to the band I'm currently in with Nothing More. And then before that, it was just a bunch of bands where just trying to make something of ourselves, more or less. And I worked at a studio in LA. I've worked a number of jobs out in Phoenix, trying to teach drum lessons and stuff like that here and there. But
nice.
I started, my first tour was in like 2010 or 2011 or something like that.
And that was with the band that you were just at previously?
No, that was even that was a band out of Arizona called Digital Summer. That was my first touring band.
Huh, nice.
And then...
and so were you able to like make a living doing that? Or
at that time?
Yeah.
No.
No?
Which would be funny because we were not even on national, we were all like on KUPD and still like some of those, like Larry McFeely's, he's a good buddy. And
is that radio?
Yeah, he was KUPD, and then same with some of those guys. We'd be friends with them, and they'd play our songs, and people would message me, be like, "Dude, you guys must be crushing it right now." I'm turning on the radio. I'm like, "Dude, I'm just playing Call of Duty, trying not to spend any money because I've got no money. Like
wow.
I'm just trying to do anything right now."
Yeah, how interesting.
And the perception of it's kind of always funny. Even now, like I make money doing this, but I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm. I don't know. I don't really have a lot of wants, so it's all good. I just want to be able to play drums and be able to do my stuff comfortably. Like train jiu-jitsu, I love doing that now. So but obviously, I think it would be great for us to like have more hit songs and then be able to just more comfortably do that. I don't need a fancy car.
Of course.
Any of that sort of
I mean,
stuff,
like you're not like the Beatles yet or anything like this massive band, but at the same time, just being able to, sustain yourself just by playing drums and being in a band. I mean, that's a pretty cool thing. And
yeah, like even today, man, I was just looking around, like I've got drum set. I've always wanted a space with, like a very nice setup to where try to remind myself, like this is sort of what I've always worked towards is having something like this. And it might not be totally ideal, but it's super, super close to being ideal. Like having I just want a drum set, like studio set up on my own that I can use to record, do whatever. And I more or less have that. And granted, it's split up in a couple different ways right now, but like it's nice, man. And I try to appreciate it as much as I can because, I mean, I kind of got the stuff with this band sort of all happened very, very quickly. Like when I joined Nothing More, it was right after I got back from recording an album with my previous band, and what had happened, like, so I moved to Los Angeles in 2012 or 13, something like that. I quit my band here. I worked at a studio out here. Just felt like it wasn't going to do anything. Like, it just felt like the cap was very limiting.
Yeah.
So I want to try to get into just anything more out there. Ended up joining a band out there called The Great Wall, which was a lot of fun, and got a job at the studio Sunset Sound, and that was great. And was doing all that. An old acquaintance of mine from Phoenix hit me up about a band that he was in that had really good songs, but they also had a lot of funding. And they basically convinced me to kind of give it another go, so to speak, even though I was very reluctant, because, like, man, I just got done trying to do this DIY thing, and it's very difficult. And I kind of I don't know, like, the state of the whole music, the rock music scene was just kind of a bummer to me at the time.
Interesting.
And my buddy literally was like, hey, man, I think things are changing. Like, check out what the number one song is right now. And the number one song was from this new band called Nothing More. And I listened to it, and I was like, it was a song called This Is the Time. I was like, this is the number one song right now? It's like, yeah. I was like, this is actually, like, pretty technical, and this is, I would listen to this. This is a great song.
Yeah.
And it was very surprising to me, and it kind of helped convince me to sort of give it another go. I was like, well, maybe times are changing, this and that. Anyways, that singer ended up later leaving that project, and we got a new singer in. But it seemed like there was a lot of work to be done before any kind of touring was going to happen. And so, like, we're thinking at least 6 months away from any sort of actual touring. So do this new album with the new singer. I come home, like, 2 days later, I get a call about actually auditioning for Nothing More.
Oh, wow.
And
who does the call come from? Like, is this guy who was telling you, like, this number one song, is he affiliated with Nothing More at the time, or?
No, that was the guy who was the singer for the previous band I was in. But he, like, brought me into that band, but then he himself checked himself out of the band, which is a long, annoying story.
Yeah.
But him and I are still on good terms, but that situation was annoying.
Yeah.
But anyway, so
then you got a call from Nothing More.
I got a call from a friend of mine who was in touch with their manager, Will Hoffman, who's great guy. And then I got in touch with Will. It's like, yeah, this is the gig. You got to learn 3 songs. You can send it to us on video, and then send it back as soon as you can. I was like, easy. And at the time when that happened, I was living with my girlfriend here, and she plays in a band, and her whole band was just leaving on tour. So it was like the first time, like, I had been moving around in all sorts of different locations, but this was the first time I was actually here. I was at a house that I could set up drums in, and I had my drum set with me that I could actually set up and play. If it was like 2 weeks before or after that had happened, I wouldn't have been able to even do any of that stuff. So the timing of it all was very strange. Wow. And, like, I don't know,
very serendipitous.
Yeah, very wild to think about. Like, this all kind of lined up perfectly. Sent him in the stuff. I kind of, basically said I got the gig. Had 2 weeks to learn the full album and a couple different live show moments, and then, like, immediately we got a headlining tour, direct support. Or not direct support, but like a support tour with Shinedown and Breaking Benjamin arena tour. And then we're going to go to Europe.
Wow.
And that was, August through December of 2015. And then after that, moved out to San Antonio, wrote an album with them out there, moved back to Phoenix in like the end of 2017, and have been here since.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, man.
So that's one thing you mentioned. So did the majority of them live in San Antonio, or?
They all lived there at the time. And now Mark still lives there, the guitar player. The other two, singer moved to Nashville recently. Bass player lives in Asheville.
Oh, wow.
North Carolina. But yeah, like,
so it's 4 of you, all 4 in 4 different states.
Yes, but Nashville's kind of like the new hub. But yeah, but like, as quickly as all that came together, that's the point I was trying to originally get to. Sorry, kind of veered off there. But that all happened very, very quickly, and it kind of was very stressful and exciting in all sorts of ways. But because of that too, I'm like well aware as fast as that can happen, that's how things could unhappen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
sure.
I try to just enjoy, I don't know, just appreciate any little thing that happens. It's nice.
Where you're at right now, just take gratitude for the moment.
Yeah, like, I'm able to come here and do this right now.
That's pretty badass.
I don't have to keep making sandwiches at Paradise Bakery like I used to.
Is that an old job you used to have?
Yeah, it sucked.
Nice, yeah.
Got to do it.
It's the path.
Yeah, technically a sandwich artist.
So. Okay, a sandwich artist. Wow. Well, I was a I don't know. I forget what that. They had some technical term for it too, but I worked at Papa John's and I was like the pizza maker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they had like a dolled up term for it.
Did you do the
that
toss?
thing? Actually, I don't know if I did. I feel like there wasn't. For some reason, I don't feel like that was a thing. Oh no, there was like a dough guy. He made it. He put it in this like pan, and then he gives it to the other people. They fill it up, and then
interesting
do it that way. Yeah.
Did you think that there was a decline in the quality after Papa John left? So he says.
Ooh, I worked there in like 2010 or 2011. I don't know if he was there or not there at the time.
Yeah, I'm not super up to date on my Papa John history, but I do know
Jamie,
that
he
went on a big tangent about how the quality dropped. And there's a great video of him sweating and looking beet red, be like, I ordered 40 peaches in 30 days and their quality's gone down. And it's just like, oh man, this guy's like on a vendetta.
Wow, that's crazy.
Supposedly, I saw some things like, the quality has gone down. It's like Shaq or someone took over, but I was always kind of a Domino's person myself.
I think there was some. I think it was later after I worked there, but I think if I'm remembering right, I think what happened is that he got online or was really drunk sometime, and someone took a video of him dropping a bunch of N-bombs.
I don't know if I heard about that.
Yeah.
I thought it was like a business meeting or something.
Oh,
that maybe. He was on. Which, I mean, just what kind of meeting are you having where that seems like a good idea? That's just
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Never a good idea.
And then he made this statement afterwards. He's like, I've been talking with my family and just trying my hardest just to take it out of my vernacular.
Best wishes, Papa John. I hope you get there one day. Yeah.
Like his statement afterwards, like made it so much worse. Like he'd like talked about how it was like just he says it every day, and he's been really trying to take a conscious effort to like take it out.
Yeah, man. From what I've seen. It's just giving attention to stuff like that, and it never helps. It never helps.
Yeah,
and especially saying something like that. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You get just move on.
Yeah,
just you take the L and move on.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, man.
I mentioned it earlier, but like I think we got into it, but didn't get like finish it. Like I feel like as far as the archetypical rock star of like what you imagine, I'm sure you meet those type of people. Maybe there's even that in your own band of just like I don't know. I guess I would imagine it as someone who's like a hardcore partier, extremely extroverted, very I guess like confident, but also just very like outgoing, extremely extroverted. Live life on the edge, maybe drugs, maybe alcohol, maybe all of it.
Right.
And that's what I feel like is like fucking rock star vibes. Like that's
definitely ran across a few of those.
Yeah. Yeah. What is that like? So is that just like the, I guess, perception that most people who aren't in a band think of? Or would you say that does account for a certain percentage of the band members? Generally speaking.
I think it depends on how old the people in the band are. There's definitely some people that still do that, but I think especially nowadays, you'll kind of notice a big trend. Like, it's just not sustainable, and I think it's just become more and more obvious to people now that you'll see a lot of the older bands, people in the band, they almost all inevitably quit drinking, and people that still kind of are in that party mode get like kicked out of the band, or they just fucking die. Or, you know what I mean? Like, you can't. Your body just can only sort of take so much of that the abuse, and
interesting. And I can't imagine you're performing at the highest level too if you're doing that like regularly.
Absolutely not. There are exceptions, and those are always fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Where it's like this guy, like I saw him last night, and he was slurring, and he played great tonight.
Oh wow! Huh.
And he does that every night. And you just kind of like, dude, I don't like I slept on my pillow weird, and I feel like I played a bad show because I have this kink in my neck. And it's kind of, it's incredible to see that. It's like, oh, good for him.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna judge, but the people who, like at least for me, like don't lose sight of the actual putting on a good sounding show part of it.
Yeah.
If you want to party and all that stuff, that's fine. But as long as you can show up and can put on a good show, if you kind of show up and it just sounds like ass, then my respect just went down.
Interesting.
But I don't really come across a lot of that because man, like you just kind of get weeded out naturally. I feel like nowadays. But
interesting. Yeah, I feel like that's maybe in like even in sports, like you see it, I think especially at the collegiate level, like some of these guys start having like really like big success, like they're big name football stars. Some of them can party like crazy and then perform excellently the next day. But I think it's the vast minority. Like it's maybe it's like something genetic or something just, you know, it's like the spectrum of like human capabilities and human, I don't know, I guess response to like alcohol and drugs and stuff. But it seems that like some people can continue to perform at a very high level while still fucking their body up, but most people cannot.
Yeah, like it's, I don't know, it's it just, are you pleasant to be around or not?
Yeah.
And so some people, they'll drink and they'll hang and it's fine because they just seem sort of normal. And then there's the couple people you're like, this person seems like they could just like pull out a knife at any point and just go to town. Like you see the personality shift, and then it almost always becomes a problem, or you kind of hear them. The thing that you tend to hear is like all these things that are happening to them, according to them.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, I was doing this and these people are always doing this. Man, why does this have to happen to me? Like, this is people somehow are always people with the worst luck.
Yeah.
You know, people are just always trying to bother them. Why can't you just let them be?
Yeah.
There's always that coming out of those types of people's mouths. And I don't know, it's just not for me. And I feel like it's same like with the other guys in the band, you know, I used to drink quite a lot. I don't feel like it affected my personality. I mean, definitely used to, but like towards you know, the last couple of years I was drinking, it wouldn't, but I could put away quite a lot, and it's exhausting, man.
Yeah.
And so even with that, and some of the other guys in the band too would be the same way. I just don't really see the upside to it, and I think everyone kind of comes to that same conclusion after a while, especially playing shows where, you know, on your rider, you'll have a bunch of alcohol there every show.
Oh,
and then if you have friends coming out to see you, to them, that's their weekend. And to you, this is your every day.
Yeah.
So every day you're at someone else's like weekend. Friday night, even though it's Monday, to them, it's their Friday. Cause it's like, oh dude, I took off to come out to the show. Let's have a good time. And you can do that for a while. And it's a lot of fun. Dude, I'm 34 now. It's like, it was a lot of fun, and now it's not.
Yeah. I feel you.
And anyone that keeps doing it, like I feel like that just naturally happens. I don't know.
Interesting. I do feel like there's a progression of that, like just within normal people. Like usually you party a lot in your 20s, and then eventually you got to fucking figure out a healthy relationship to alcohol. Like whether that's, you know, just drinking occasionally, or it's just not getting fucked up constantly. It's not getting fucked up every weekend. It's like, I don't know, developing some sort of healthy relationship with it where it doesn't affect your personal life. You can still be productive.
100%. Like I was just never the person. I'd get very one-track minded on things, and it was the same if I started drinking. So I would have one, and it would never be like I could just have one with dinner. It'd be like, this is the first one, and then that opens like, well, that's just so the second one will be great, and it leads to 1 and 2. What leads to me, you know, stopping and getting a 6-pack or 2 big tall boys on the way home, and then after that, well, I'm still kind of thirsty, and it's still kind of early. Let's go get some more, and it doesn't ever stop.
Okay.
And it's like the idea that if you just keep going, it's going to get better. It's going to keep feeling better.
You're eventually going to feel real good if I just have that next drink.
Never happens.
Yeah.
I mean, you eventually get there, and then you go way past there.
Yep.
It's like gambling in Vegas almost. Like, and you just keep losing your money.
Yeah.
Because you stayed at the table too long.
Exactly. So are you completely sober now?
Yeah.
Wow, nice. No weed or anything?
Sometimes it helps. It helps me sleep, but I can't really function.
No alcohol.
I can't function too well on like I've also gotten very addicted to just being very clear-minded. Like I'm doing a lot of caffeine stuff,
nice,
which is nice. But yeah, man, I as long as I can get good sleep, especially now because I used to drink thinking it would help me sleep, which it kind of does, but your quality of sleep is terrible.
It helps you fall asleep. Your quality of sleep is horrible.
Exactly. So now that I'm actually used to like what good sleep feels like, I'm obsessed with it. And it's kind of like I've been born again into this world of actually sleeping well.
Nice.
Otherwise I was drinking, I don't know, 5 nights a week, most weeks, if not more.
Okay,
for
interesting.
12 years.
Oh, wow.
You know, so.
So you are the atypical rock star.
I mean, I not the socializing part, but every other part, I just, you know.
I'm just kidding.
Didn't solve that.
No, so how long have you not been drinking for?
A little over a year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's been good.
And are you calling like a hard line, I'm not going to drink again, or is it just more or less like you're kind of on a streak and it's feeling good and you want to just keep it rolling?
So it started because I was having a lot of problems with my my left ear in particular.
Oh, I remember that.
I got diagnosed in my early 20s with this thing called Meniere's disease, which it started from, as actually at on tour at the time, and I just would hear like a click and a pop in my ear, and then increased tinnitus, which tinnitus, or some people call it tinnitus, but I hate the way it sounds, so it's called tinnitus. It's basically just like that loud, high-pitched ringing that you get in your ear. Everyone kind of gets it from time to time.
Yeah.
Or if you go to a loud concert the next day, you kind of hear a little bit of that.
Yeah.
So I would hear a pop, and then that just sort of increases, and then I would get insane vertigo, which if you've never had vertigo, it's the only way I could describe it is if you've been unbelievably intoxicated, and when you get the spins, it's like getting the spins, but in like 3 different axes.
Oh, wow.
So it'd be like if I turn my head this way, you get the spins in that direction, and then if I look up, I get you still have the spins this way, but now you have the spins this way and this way.
Oh, wow.
And so every direction you kind of turn your head, you start getting the spins in that, and eventually it just kind of turns into a feedback cycle that your body freaks out on. I would start overheating and sweating and then just vomiting and just laying on the floor, like horrible feeling.
Wow.
And so what it is I guess technically speaking, when your fluid of your inner ear builds up and spills out onto the nerve, I believe, and it kind of just short circuits your balance and hearing function. And they don't really know the cause of it specifically. It can be from trauma. It can be from a number of factors, and there's no cure for it. It's only like, this is kind of just what happens when this thing happens, and we call it Meniere's disease. And there's different triggers for different people. And if you can identify those, you can kind of try to avoid this happening, more often than not. But the progression of the disease is mostly vertigo at first, and then over time it turns into hearing loss and just increased hearing loss and tinnitus, and sometimes potentially like your balance just goes entirely.
Oh, wow.
So thankfully mine has not been that, like it hit me pretty bad in my early 20s, and then it kind of went away and I just didn't think anything of it. And some of the stuff was like, don't eat a lot of salt, don't drink a lot of caffeine, don't drink alcohol. Those are the big things you can do to help. And I did all those things.
Yeah.
And even still with caffeine, I just got to have something.
Love caffeine.
And I'll still enjoy, stuff with salt in it and stuff like that. But about 2 years ago, it started coming back, but it was like, I was just going to bed one night and all of a sudden it was like roaring car horn level loud tinnitus in this ear. And it just didn't go away. And I was like, dude, what is that? Like, I got like an hour of sleep maybe.
God.
And I went to the ear doctor. They put me on prednisone, which is an oral steroid, and it cleared it up. Thought it was gone. Cut to a couple weeks later, I can hear it slowly come back. And also too, I had like low end hearing loss. So typically when you age, your hearing, everyone's hearing deteriorates, but it usually goes from the highs. They just kind of start to come down first, since that's where speech is. That's where
high pitches. You're saying like really like
higher frequencies, yeah. And most clarity comes from that. So, it tends to be the most painful kind of like if you hear something really loud that's a low frequency, it doesn't really hurt you that much versus like a loud trumpet or something. You're like, Jesus,
Okay.
So it tends to happen from the highs first, but a symptom of Meniere's is where the lows are affected, and so that's another tell to like, well, yeah, this is coming back for some way, shape, or form. So it kind of grew to where it came back, and it was pretty persistent over the course of a couple of months. I kept taking prednisone and it would help, but it just kind of kept going in one direction. And then I started changing my diet around. And I started noticing that if I ate certain things or if I didn't eat certain things, it would dramatically make it worse or better. And then I got to a point where I had quit drinking for a time and it all cleared up. And I kind of thought like, oh, this is gone now. And then I started drinking again. And then it got really bad. Like I actually, like all the lows had cleared up in my hearing, but I lost probably 50% of like all my high hearing.
Really?
Like if I couldn't talk on the phone, I couldn't understand what people were saying if I talked like this. Like, and it was crazy. Like, and the tinnitus was also super loud. I eventually grew to be used to that. Technically, I still have it. It's just much, much quieter now. But
and it's in the one ear?
It's just in this ear for now. It can become bilateral. But I was playing a show on this tour like a couple of years ago, and during the show, this ear started, like I would just hear, like all these different levels of ringing that would just like start randomly happening, like someone hitting a piano.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what is happening? And then after the show, everything sort of sounded like it was coming through like a distortion pedal. Like he would talk, it was like, dude, this is,
wow,
what is happening?
Yeah.
I went and took a hearing test, and pretty much most of my high hearing was like not even registering on a test. It was like you're basically deaf.
Wow.
From all this. Like, okay, this is obviously like I'm freaking out kind of like, because once your hearing's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Most of what any doctor, went to every specialist I could find here. That's what they're all saying. Like, you can give you prednisone, and then other than that, you just got to learn to live with what you get.
Wow.
I had them they did a shot of steroids, like shot through my eardrum, injected it directly, which that felt just fantastic, as you can imagine. And just did everything I could. And so after that, took that prednisone, and I had stopped drinking again because I was like, maybe somehow this had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But whatever that magical mix was, I started taking this prescription drug also that I had to get from this website, Canada Drugs Online. It's called beta histine. That it wasn't approved in the U.S. for some reason, but it's in Canada, it's in Europe. I started taking that. I quit drinking, and I took the round of prednisone after this one show. Woke up the next day, and I probably went from, a little over 50% hearing loss to maybe like 5.
Oh, wow.
Like it all recovered.
In just one day.
Overnight.
Wow.
And I mean, I was like, I couldn't believe it. It's like, dude, this is like, for sure, I thought I was just like going to maybe get some of like back to where I was, which was still a lot of hearing loss.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get to that.
Yeah.
I thought the chance of getting back to normal was, I thought that was gone.
Yeah.
And it's been like that ever since.
Wow.
And so I'm just like, I'm not going to change anything about what I'm doing as long as that doesn't change.
Wow. Well, that's good.
So that's kind of my thing. So whether or not I'll drink again, it depends. Like if it hits me out of nowhere again and it goes away, well, it's like, well, screw it. I guess I can have a margarita when I go get a burrito now, because why not?
Yeah.
But I just pick hearing for now. And then also now too, like in doing jujitsu and things like that, I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll still get smashed by like you or Issa or somebody like effortlessly, but I don't feel like I'm like cardio wise. I feel like I can hang a lot better. I just feel better in everything that I'm doing. I feel
all around
clearer. I wake up able to immediately just hit the ground running versus waking up, I need coffee again. Just like that whole thing.
It's a horrible feeling.
Yeah.
If there's anything to give up completely, like alcohol is not a bad one at all. I mean, your life is overall going to be net positive better
for
almost
sure.
always.
If you can moderate though, good for you. I'm not going to say that's a bad thing. It can definitely be very nice. I was incredibly antisocial. Like I've, I don't know, just had very, even still, I'd say I have a problem relating to people. Like I feel like it's a skill I've had to learn to do, but it doesn't come to me naturally. And I don't feel comfortable ever doing, even this right now is like, I feel like I'm trying as best as I can, but it doesn't, it's not a natural thing for me to just be able to do, and alcohol made that way easier.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got addicted to that as well. You know what I mean?
As the social lubricant aspect of it.
Yeah. And I'm also would always just live in my own head and just obsess about things. And it would allow me to let go of that. And I could just by the moment and enjoy things, which would never happen otherwise. So I got really addicted to those feelings rather than actual like alcohol itself addiction. I never felt that ever.
Yeah. Not necessarily the high of alcohol, but being able to communicate better and maybe getting out of your own head a bit.
Just the looseness that came with it, yeah.
Interesting.
Very much enjoyed. So it's been kind of good too. I feel like I've just gone through enough of that where now I can naturally know like, okay, I can try to just put myself in that headspace because I spent a very good part of the last 10 years in the chemically induced version of that headspace. So I know what it's like and can try to replicate that.
Okay, interesting.
But so it does have benefits, and had I not done that, probably wouldn't. I'm the sum of my experiences. So
exactly.
I don't regret any of that. But definitely, learning how to put limits on those things is always good.
That's good for sure. Do you think just being like a rock star and like playing in these live bands or these live performances where the music is insanely loud and all of this has had a negative effect on your ear?
I mean, it could, but I've been very, because from going to audio engineering school and even growing up playing, my dad was always very insistent on wearing ear protection, and I just always tried to do that. I mean, there's a couple times where I didn't, but I would always, especially like as drummers, you tend to have to listen to a click track for a lot of bands when you're playing, and the only way you can and the only way you can do that is by wearing earphones that are sound isolating enough to where you can actually hear it. Because if I just put in iPod headphones and start playing drums, I can blast it as loud as possible. I'm not going to hear it.
Okay, interesting.
So it has to be something that just kind of deadens the sound, and then I can hear what I'm actually trying to pipe in my ears, which is when we play live too. Now I just have really nice versions of those that are molded in-ear monitors.
Oh, interesting.
And which is why you see me wearing at Jiu-Jitsu, you see me wearing that headgear sometimes, is when I feel like I've had to drain each of these ears probably 3 or 4 times each.
Yeah.
When they start to get a little cauliflowery, just because I don't want them to mess up
mold too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, I personally don't really care too much if I were to get like, I've had a little bit of that. I just don't want to mess up my molds. Plus also, I'm pretty sure it's not the best look band image wise to just have
cauliflower
Khabib ears. You know? don't want that.
Maybe not the best. Probably not the.
It's a different time. I feel like people. I don't know. To me, it's not that big of a thing. But I
think people like
those
you for
in-ears
you.
are expensive. I don't want to have to be the guy. It's like, hey guys, I need new molds because I did too many double legs. So,
That's funny. I bet your fans would like that. They'd be like, oh, fucking sick. Ben's hitting doubles and hitting fucking. I don't even know what you would call a word for
maybe
hitting the drums.
I feel like I would definitely need to be more able to not get guillotined first, because I don't want to because I initially started getting all this stuff at white belt. It's like, okay, I for sure can't get this now because I don't want to suck and have cauliflower. So people see me like, oh dude, you're probably pretty sick. I'm like, no dude, I lose all the time.
That's funny. Wow. So when you're playing and you have like these inner ear things, it's like, so it's noise canceling completely. It just has a click and that's what you hear.
It's very quiet. So yeah, it's
So how do you stay along with the band, or like what's your personal experience? Are you hearing the music as well?
Oh yeah.
Or okay, you are.
So we have it's called like a monitor engineer running the board. So all of everything that's mic'd goes to that, and it goes to front of house, which is the sound guy out front. And the monitors engineer, it's the same board as our front of house engineer, and that's basically just to put in our ears whatever we want. And so I'll just be like, hey, give me more kick, give me more vocal, give me more click track, which is basically, just like the tempo of the song. It'll on our playback computer that runs the click track and stuff, it'll have my voice saying like what the song name is. So say, Jenny, Mark, enter 1, 2, ready, go. And then just with the click. So that way everything's just obvious. So even if you kind of like, if the person's spacing out, if I'm spacing out, you're not sure, whatever, and you just hear clicks. You can kind of like, some people I know, they're like, oh, I have to count 32 clicks and that's where I enter. Like, that's crazy. Especially because you can, like, no one else is hearing that click. So why not put little vocal cues in there so it reminds you, like, hey, come in, 1, 2, ready, go.
Oh, okay.
So that way you can kind of space out, you can enjoy yourself. And then when you hear it, you go, okay.
Yeah, ready, back
and
to
play.
Oh, nice.
And then, so we all hear, whenever you hear a band, like at a show, and no one's doing anything, and all of a sudden they all start at the same time. They're hearing that.
Oh, okay,
like there's a reason why they're that tight. It's because of that.
It's not just intuition. Everyone coming at the same time.
I mean, it can be if some bands don't play the clicks, which is very awesome. The bands that are really good at it, but they're all looking at each other like there's there's
ready to go. Yeah, you kind of have like a lead up or something that's cueing everyone to start at the same time.
Exactly.
So the inner ear thing, it's also playing the music as well. It's just like maybe not at a high. You'll be able to control the volume, so you also hear the clicks very well, or you'll just be able to hear the different volumes like per whatever works best for you.
I mean, there's not like the actual song in there, but it's what everyone else is playing.
That's what I mean, like an audio feed to the guitar, the vocals, all of that as well.
Totally.
Okay.
But for me, like everyone kind of has their own mix. Like I know our singer, he likes to try to mix it to where it sounds like he's singing along to the record.
Oh, okay.
He wants it to sound very full and produced and like what you hear when you put on the album.
Okay.
I like to listen to basically just the drums with the click and then enough of the other stuff to where I can tell where I'm at in the song, but I don't want to be influenced by their timing at all. I just want to kind of like focus on just making sure that it feels good just as the drums, because ideally it's kind of, I view that as like the foundation of the cake, so to speak. So I want them to follow me rather than me follow them.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Well, I played drums in band actually when I was like 7th and 8th grade, and like my whatever you call them, what it's the person that conducts the band?
Conductor?
Conductor, I guess. The conductor was always like, the drums are like the heartbeat of the music. So it's
totally
they stand for the beat, the making sure everyone's on pace. Or I guess she just described it as the heartbeat of the music.
I fully agree.
Yeah.
Like that's Yeah. It's why I kind of laugh when I see certain drummers. They visually are like they're putting on a great show, but to me, if it doesn't sound super solid, then I kind of don't care, because I'd rather like it just there's something when someone's extra locked in. You're like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and most of the time when you hear a band that sounds that way, it's because the drummer is that locked in.
Okay.
And the band is locked in with them. If the drummer's all over the place, band kind of sounds like shit.
Okay, wow.
You know, at least to me, but I'm also a little biased, probably as the drummer.
Probably, yeah.
So.
And I can't imagine what visually, I guess over the top even looks like, because I see you getting after it, and it looks fucking sick. Like,
thanks, man.
Yeah, it looks really cool. Even when you're just practicing by yourself, I mean, the fucking shit you do is just crazy.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, I mean, the movement you have, I mean, you could tell, like kind of how you were talking before, like the different levels of understanding, like you're to the point where, or it seems like where it's like this mind body connection where you have this energy flowing through you, and your body is just a tool for conducting this music, and it looks fucking sick.
Thanks, man. That's the whole trick of it. And it's not, it's kind of like anything else, man. Like if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing. So some of that stuff, it's just more of, it's very easy to, I guess, again, sort of compare it to like jiu-jitsu stuff. It's the hardest thing is just staying loose and flowing and thinking musically versus like being tense and kind of thinking like I know what it is, but I'm kind of just going and then you play it and then it just sounds like jerky. It doesn't sound smooth and flowing because you're not smooth. You are physically tense and going to be jerky. And trying to just get to that level of comfort, which comes from a variety of factors, but practicing is by far the most
way to get there.
Yeah, and I mean, I appreciate you saying that, but to me, just plenty of drummers that I'll see where, to me, they're just like at these unobtainable levels of skill. At least, even from like, I'll view them as like, I would love to get there, but realistically, I'm never going to get there.
Wow,
you know
that's
what I mean?
Interesting.
In terms of just like what they can do.
Who are like some of your drumming like idols?
Vinny Colaiuta is unbelievable. Josh Freese is a very good example of someone who's not some like technical wizard playing the most amazing, like I can't even comprehend what he's playing sort of stuff. That's Eric Moore is very, very much more of that. You'll watch him, you're like, what even just happened? This is like, I can't comprehend, like, how is he even doing these things? But Josh Freese or John Theodore are two examples of people who it's like, man, it's not so much what they're playing is very good sounding, which it is, but it's the choices that they make that make it. It's like, I guess in like a jiu-jitsu sense, maybe like a Hodge or Gracie, where like there's not a lot of like flash going on here, but the decisions being made are like the perfect decisions, and the timing of it is perfect, and it just feels so good. Like it's probably my favorite to listen to as like a music listener. In terms of just the drumming, it's fine, but in the context of the songs, it just feels perfect, man. It's hard to kind of describe.
So is that like what it is? It's a perfect choice for the connection of the song, or is it the perfect choice like in the sense that they're freestyling and they're just hitting like, you know, a really good rhythm, or what?
Just the way that they choose to, I guess, you know, emote to this song, you know. Like if you listen to this band, A Perfect Circle, Josh Freese played drums on their first two albums, 13th Step and Mare de Noms, I believe it's what it's called, something like that. Some of my favorite drumming, period, or John Theodore on like the Mars Volta, Francis the Mutant, the last and the Gomatorium albums. Just incredibly tastefully written parts.
Oh, interesting.
Where it's like, man, if anyone else had done this, they would not have played it that way, and it would change the whole song completely.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
So it's more of just like the way that they choose to speak on the drums is what I find the most interesting thing, because you can't really teach that. That's just sort of like the person. You know what I mean? Versus like the technical ability. Technical ability wise, you know, like Thomas Lang he's this guy who can play more, like his left foot is more technically able than any limb I have, period. He's like ambidextrous. The dude is an absolute monster in terms of being able to, like, on a technical level. But I've never heard an album that he was on that I just got super into the parts as much as like a Josh Freese or John Theodore type of player.
Wow. So when you like do drums for your songs you do, so do you like, did they create a song and you make drums to that, or do you guys all get together and just try to create it together, or what's like the creative process like?
So the latter, what you just said, is what we did for our previous 2 albums, where we'd all kind of get together and hash out riffs. This new one, we're actually working with an outside producer, and it's much more of what you said previously, where I'm just kind of get sent stuff and it's like, well, put some drums to this.
Which do you like better?
I like jamming in a jam room more because I feel like you get a more unique sort of outcome. Like, and just the ride from part to part feels differently. Whereas I feel that a lot of bands tend to do the thing now where it's all computer sharing. Here's a file, you put your thing to it. Okay, now you put your thing to it, and then it comes together. I feel like you tend to get songs that sound like just a collection of parts. And maybe that's just the way things are going now. Or maybe that's just like my own perception of it. But that can be advantageous because you can really be nitty gritty about certain things and pay a lot more attention to detail. But you kind of lose some of that natural fluidity that I feel like songs tend to benefit from.
Yeah. Of like being in a room and just like, there's got to be something to the actually like energy flow or like energy share of like literally being next to each other and trying to get riffs together. I feel like there's got to be something to that. Would you say?
Oh yeah. And there's definitely times where you'll be playing a part and you're kind of like, what needs to come next? And you all sort of in your mind come to the same conclusion of what sort of thing needs to come next in terms of like the feel. And you kind of all climb that mountain together, and like someone will play something and that influences what he does, which influences what he does. And it kind of like feedback circles into this direction. Whereas you get none of that through file sharing. You'd be like, well, something like this. And then you send it and someone's like, well, that just sounds weird. And like, well, yeah, but you got to imagine it, like use your imagination, which easier said than done.
You can describe.
Yeah. And some people can do that, but it's just a different process.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. I would imagine when you're all together, it's something that like there's something out in the ether and you all understand what it is, and like you understand what's closer to it, what's farther from it, and like doing it in, together would help you get closer to that. But fucking sending it over a computer is just, maybe you could be on 2 totally different pages.
Yeah. But at the same time, like you can do that with people across the country. Like you can work on songs with people that you'd otherwise never be able to work on songs with. Like I did my own music project I called Without Sleep, because it was stuff I started working on forever ago, and it was just stuff I'd do at night when I couldn't sleep. And I started working with this guy Ravi, who is a singer. I've only ever actually been in person, like hanging out with him one time, kind of briefly, but just file shared all the stuff to him. He sent me vocal stuff back, and he ended up singing on this whole EP I did. That otherwise it just never would have happened if it had to be in person. You know what I mean? So
interesting.
Like, I don't know. There can be cool things that come out of that process.
Yeah.
And interesting opportunities that present themselves that otherwise wouldn't.
That's an interesting aspect of it for sure. And I'm just looking at it from like a white belt standpoint, where it's like, well, that's not how you do it. And like I've never obviously been in a band or done anything like that.
There's no right or wrong way. I feel like the best thing to do is, it's all just an absolute crapshoot, man. Like some of the songs that I love the most tend to do okay, and then songs that I'm like about tend to do great.
Oh wow!
So or like, I don't know. I try not to think too much about any of that stuff now. It's just trying to make something that you're proud of.
Yeah.
And then if you are, then great. And anything else beyond that, cool. But I just want to more or less feel good about anything that I'm working on, and if that box is checked, however it happens, whatever.
Well, that's really good. Yeah, I think that's maybe a good way to approach it, is just focus on doing your best and then just let the rest of it ride.
Yeah, like if I'm going to work on anything at all, I just want to be happy with it.
Yeah.
Rather than like, man, I worked on this thing and I hate it.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Yeah. Well, that's probably not a good tell of like if it is good or not. Like that's whole like Rick Rubin, is that his name? The like musical producer.
Yeah.
He like looks like a homeless guy with like
like, Music Santa.
Yeah, Music Santa.
Yeah.
I've got some glasses that look exactly like his, and like my girlfriend got me into them. They're like blue light blocking glasses. They're from this company called Raw Optics, like RA.
I've seen some of those. I probably need to get some for how much I'm on my computer.
Oh, really? I've actually fell in love with them. She bought me a pair too, and like we wear them every night. But
really,
yeah, they're really nice. And like I feel like tired within like 30 minutes of wearing them.
That's pretty awesome.
But like during the day, if I actually wear them during the day, it's like just a nice hue on the visual field, and it just feels really good. I don't know. It's something about it's like a very mild massage on your brain. It feels like just
that sounds.
Looking through them, it
Sounds
feels
great.
really nice. And then at night, especially if you're winded up like after jujitsu or whatever, it gives you like a real, I just sort of like tones you down a little bit, makes you a little bit tired.
Yeah, I definitely fall victim to that. I'll be playing like chess on my chess app on my phone, trying to fall asleep.
And you play chess?
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, we gotta become friends on chess.com.
Yep, that's the one. Okay, I'm down.
Yeah.
I was on a chess team back in, first, second grade or something
No
like
way.
that. Terrible sport. I would just absolutely lose it if I lost, but didn't play for a number of years. And then in the last few years, kind of just not falling in love back with chess itself. But I was like, okay, now that I actually, I don't know, I've like my wits about me. I feel like I'm definitely a lot smarter than I was then.
First grade.
My problem solving is a little deeper.
Yeah.
And so I can, I actually want to, I don't know, I like, it's same with you. I like puzzles.
Yeah.
I like the technical side of figuring things out.
I
same
feel
with
like
I got into like Rubik's cubes. I just want to know how to solve it.
Nice.
I don't need to be the best at it. I just want to know I can do it.
Yeah, exactly.
And so with chess, I just want to know. I don't need to be the best, but I don't know. It's just something I kind of mess with to slowly improve in like the back burner of things. But not the easiest thing to like calm down with. Trying to sleep, and I'm like, why did I do that?
Yeah, I get the same way. I'll get like on a losing streak, and I'm like, fuck, I'm fucking pissed, and just go and like I start making rash decisions because I just want to like get one more win before I go to sleep. And
I try to play the 3-minute blitz games too.
Okay,
and
3 minutes is a little bit fast. I like 5. Is what I do.
You make a lot of dumb mistakes, and then especially too, you'll be winning, but because you took too long, you'll lose.
Ooh, yeah,
that's extra frustrating. You can tell the person's just they're not even, they just know I'm going to lose because I'm running out of time, but I'm so far ahead, but I can't, it's just not going to work.
There's no clear path to just like a checkmate.
Also very frustrating.
Yeah, exactly.
So trying to fall asleep under those conditions, not the best.
What's your ELO in chess?
What do you mean?
ELO, like the rating, like the number rating?
Oh.
It depends on what, if you're doing blitz or timed or whatever you're doing.
I think like my 7-day one is like 1400 or something, but
that's pretty good.
My 3-minute one I think is like 940 right now.
Oh, it's also still very good.
I make a lot of mistakes. It's very easy to do.
I mean, that's better than the average Joe. I think all mine are like somewhere between 800 and 1,000.
Nice.
Or maybe a little over 1,000.
Love to play.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to.
I got the there's a chess app called the Magnus Trainer. It's from Magnus Carlsen. And I don't know if they know that, but I purchased like the lifetime, or not the lifetime, but I purchased like a full subscription of it just to try it, and then I kind of stopped using it for a bit, so I canceled it. But somehow when I canceled it, it made it to where it still fully works. So I don't pay for it, but I have the full app now. And so I'll use that from time to time just to like learn like, oh, here's like the French defense, which it's pretty much like the only thing I use when I'm black now.
Oh, interesting.
Which it's kind of like, I feel like it's the same as like, I don't know, trying to play deep half no matter what is happening. Like if the person could be doing anything and I'm just going to keep playing deep half. So it might be a horrible idea, but I just keep doing it, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, right. I also have like these go-to patterns that I'll do from like opening. I like to do like be aggressive with the queen when I'm white and try to do things like that.
Ooh, that's risky.
Yeah, well, most people have like the set defense to it, but you can like basically like if everything works out well, I take out, and the person knows what they're doing, I take out like the knight, and then that's it. So I'm up 3-0, and then we're at like still like sort of an even position other than that.
I'm very interested.
Yeah.
Okay. We gotta play some games. That's
That's funny. I think it's just like people just get into patterns, and then you just want to keep executing on those patterns.
Yeah. Well, in general, whenever I'm kind of lost now, like that Magnus app it was talking about, this is, I'm sure, fascinating for anyone listening to this about chess, but just trying to control the center of the board is like a really good general
key
idea.
principle. Yeah, for sure.
Like the more you could just have pieces covering the center, and then also like deploying your pieces to cover the max amount of space possible, getting your rooks to be like on the same line, controlling the same line. So, or they call it like an open file. So even if it's on the side, like if you move your queen to, like, I can't remember what it is, like a H8 or something like that. It's like you kind of move it over when mine's off to the side. If I'm playing the French defense, I'll let you capture it just so I can recapture with my rook, like the pawn right in front of my rook, just to open up that rook line. And it might not become valuable ever, but there's a lot of times where, like, while playing, if you kind of play with those principles, like as the game progresses, it's like, oh, I've like inadvertently set myself up for this sick combo because all of these things are covered now. And so whenever, like, if I just do this, this person has to react in certain ways, like very, very limiting ways, because anything else they do, they run into these things that I've like set up for myself. So it's kind of like, I don't know, like just kind of hedging your bets for solid future and, returns.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're like mostly just setting up an impregnable place.
Like it makes you feel a lot smarter than you, like, you know what I mean? Like the other person's like, man, how did they set this up from ways back? It's like, I didn't. Yeah. I'm just playing off of this idea, and then these things just happen.
Yeah, exactly. Which that's interesting about Magnus. I don't know how much if you've watched like chess videos or anything, but
some of them.
He's got like one where he sacrificed his queen in trade. Like he ended up getting 3 pieces for it. But it was like I forget exactly how it was set up, but he sacrificed a queen, and it was like by the book, this was like a horrible decision, but ended up winning the match from that because he was, there's are these primary principles, but even within chess, which has such rigid principles, he was a little creative, and he's obviously the best in the world, and it imposes creativity even within this like rigid set of principles.
I think I've probably seen that. I've seen a couple of his videos. There's one that he, like on some morning show, he beat some guy who had like 3 minutes and he only had 30 seconds, and it was a timed game, and he still ended up winning.
Wow.
And stuff like that to me, where it's like, this is, and even then, like, he was never sweating or never like, just knows what to do and how to react. I'm like, that's the level of confidence and just, man, like you're not going to surprise him with almost anything.
Yeah.
Almost anything. Like occasionally you do. Like I've seen a couple games where I'll play someone online. He's like, oh, it's all right. Well,
yeah.
Damn. Or even getting to a stalemate with them is very impressive,
Yeah. Wow.
That's cool though. I didn't know you played.
Yeah. Yeah. I like playing chess. It's kind of just like a cool alternative to like Instagram or TikTok or something.
Totally.
You can get like just, fucking addicted to that, or just constantly scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and then like there's no utility to it, or mostly none. And when chess, it's like I feel like, I don't know, it's more engaging.
Yeah, you don't feel like you're just mindlessly scrolling.
Yeah. And
there's another animal video. Of course, I don't like it. Sounds good.
Yeah. And you can procure your feed, I think, in Instagram and TikTok to give you like really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I think like either like I've become a better cook through TikTok, 100%.
Interesting.
Like I've found a bunch of recipes and different things that I've done through TikTok that I've leveled up my cooking game 100%.
I've been striving for that. Our singer Johnny, he pointed out to me that you can save videos in different categories on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I have one. It's like a recipes category, and since I've liked like 2, now maybe not half, but like a quarter of my feed now is like all these other recipe videos of like, here's how you can make, this very low calorie, high protein, super delicious meal. It's all these like super healthy meal sheets.
Yeah.
I always see them, I save them, like these look great.
Yeah.
I just have an inherent problem with the concept of cooking, because I tend to eat really, really quickly. And so it takes me
hours,
forever to make all this stuff. And then it's just gone. And then I'm left with all the dishes and everything. I'm like, dude, I just would rather go get like a, Chipotle bowl, even though that wrecks my stomach.
I do feel the same way. I like eat out like way more than I should, but I have been trying to cook more at the house. And then also too, just like having a girlfriend now, like we like cooking for her, I think is really nice. Anytime we have like a really nice dinner together.
For sure.
If she really likes my food, like I really like that. I feel like there's something that feels really good about like cooking your own meal, especially when you do certain things. I could actually send you this one chef on TikTok that has this whole 50-part series all about the sides, and then he has this 50-part series all about the sauces, and then this 50-part series about I think he's doing like main courses now or something. And a couple of the sides in the All About the Sides series are so insane. And they're very simple. Like the way he breaks it down, it's literally less than a minute video and it gives you all the steps of that you need. I make these like potato things that are fucking insane. They're like restaurant level quality. It takes a couple hours actually.
Oh, wow.
But most of it's pretty easy. It's like you just like for the first thing you have to bake the potatoes for a full hour and let them fully cool. So that right there takes minimum 2 hours, which is not a whole ton of actual work.
Right.
You know, I just put them in, bake, and then 2 hours later, you know, they're ready to be chopped up.
It takes time management really more than it takes effort.
Exactly. Like if we're just hanging out on a Saturday night, you know, maybe like watching the fights, getting that going or doing something like that, it makes it just, you know, a nice thing to do as you're just hanging out.
Yeah. Well, it's all, yeah, I try to cook with Alexia when we can. We used to a lot more, and like she made some food the other night. It's a good couples thing for sure.
Yeah, and also too, we've been camping more recently too. If you could like take out a grill and camp out in the middle of fucking nowhere, that is like some of the nicest meals.
It's somehow, dude, something about breakfast, especially in the morning from camping, it just tastes better.
It's so good. Some nice bacon.
Yeah, like somehow dirt improves everything.
I think it's
just
maybe
a little bit of like a little pine needle in there. It's great.
It's maybe like the higher oxygen content, the nice view, a nice yolk.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, it's so good. We went to the Edge of the World like 2 months ago.
What's that?
Have you ever been there? It's this place like right in between Flagstaff and Sedona, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So you actually have to drive up to Flagstaff first, and then take this dirt road about an hour southwest. So you drive up to flag elevation and then drive southwest, but you're essentially driving on this giant mesa, and you drive to the end of it. And by the time you get to the end of it, it's just this massive drop off, and you can see all of Sedona, but you're higher than the highest mountain in Sedona. And the view is just insane, absolutely gorgeous. And there's like a few dozen different camping spots on the edge of the mesa. So literally we like camped on the edge. We woke up like with this went to sleep, woke up with this insane view of like, you know, literally all of Sedona, most of northern Arizona. You see like the red rocks all over there. It was just absolutely incredible.
Is there like a town there, or is it just kind of like out in the boonies, so to speak?
I think it's the boonies, really, like because it's like it's.
Is it really dark at night?
It's dark as fuck. Yeah,
that sounds
stars insane.
Awesome. I was gonna say if you go there, I went to Sedona one time, and I have a camera I got off my sister, who's much more. She was a photography major and has a bunch of nice cameras, and I got a nice Canon 5D Mark II off of her from, you know, it's a very old camera, but still a very nice camera.
Nice.
And I'm not a big space nerd, so to speak. So I was up in Sedona at one point and noticed, or just Googled, saw that like, the Milky Way galaxy is going to be overhead tonight. So I wanted to try to go to a spot like out in the desert to get a picture of it. And I was able to get a couple pictures of it, but not anything like, I was able to capture it and it was cool, but I really wanted to get something a little better than that. It's just hard to find the right spot. It was a little cloudy and this and that, and you kind of there's the right time of year where it's like perfectly overhead and you get like that really cinematic looking shot.
Wow.
And you describing that, like, that would be an awesome place to go to get that.
Especially if you planned the camping trip and just spent the weekend there, that would be really fucking cool.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, camping alone is enjoyable and reason enough to go.
It's so
but
nice.
Especially if it's always right there. And like not having the light pollution, but also too having Sedona out in the distance.
Yeah.
Would be really neat.
It's really cool. It's one of the coolest view spots I think I've ever seen in Arizona.
Nice.
We made the pact to like once a month travel somewhere in Arizona and just like explore Arizona. So
that's cool.
Maybe I'll find something better, but right now that's number one for sure.
Have you been to Jerome?
Yeah, I've been to Jerome. Jerome's really cool.
Yeah, I like Jerome a lot.
Yeah.
Been there, been to Horseshoe Bend and the Antelope Canyon, I think it's called. That was pretty.
Antelope Canyon, that's way northern, like where Page, Arizona, is that where it is?
I think so.
Almost the Utah Arizona border.
No, I don't think it's that far. It's like a 3.5 hour drive.
Okay,
but it's north of Flagstaff.
Wouldn't be there then, huh?
Yeah, I went there with.
Maybe
Alexia,
it is actually. I think it's like a 4-hour drive from here.
Yeah, it's pretty far.
It's like, is that where the wave is?
I don't think so. I know what you're talking about. I've wanted to go see that.
That looks really cool too.
I think you have to like sign up on some list to go through there.
I've heard that as well. You got to get like a permit or something like that.
Yeah, the photos of it look incredible.
They look really beautiful.
But at the Antelope Canyon and Horseshoe Bend are like right next to each other, basically. And it's like, yeah, you spend forever getting up there, and then the tour is just like, here it is. Okay, see you. It's very, very quick. It was cold, and it was a little like I was hoping there'd be a little bit more to it for how far you go to get there, but it's still really cool.
See, I'm not a big fan of tours or anything like that, really. I just want to go and fucking explore myself.
Yeah, be able to sit down and enjoy it a bit.
Yeah, exactly. And get away from people. Like, that is one of my main goals with getting, also, too, what's super interesting, like, I was just talking about this with someone. It's like, camping feels so good for some reason that I don't quite understand. I think it's just maybe something about reconnecting with nature or being away from technology, or maybe it's the higher oxygen content. But it's really interesting that, for probably thousands or millions of years, we were people who were like, tree dwelling, or, we like lived outside. We lived in these like places that were, probably nothing compared to the type of structures and real estate and everything that we currently have now.
Right.
And now we've corrected so much where everything is so comfortable. We have such an amazing like standard. Even like the lowest standard is still have a roof over your head that doesn't get wet like outside. Now there's this whole like market about camping and getting back out into nature. It's so interesting that like it's obviously something that so many people feel.
Yeah, it's sort of force realigns you back to just the simpler way of everything. Really.
Yeah.
It becomes less about, unless you go camping with the mindset of like, oh, I got to bring all my bullshit with me.
Bring my big screen.
Yeah, which you can do, but it's reconnecting to what the world actually like, what the reality of the situation really is. Mm-hmm. And it's not to say that like, well, yeah, you can live in the city and live the that lifestyle, and that is your reality, so to speak. But that's not all. That stuff can also just go away. Like if you lived in a different time period, that would not be the case. What is constant is that
nature.
Just exactly. So I feel like there's kind of like a primal element to that. It just
I don't
know.
Feels good.
It's important to reconnect with that.
Yeah.
And some people maybe not like. Some people might not like it. I'm kind of 50-50. Like I enjoy it for a time, and then I like to get back to my stuff, But
we spent like 3 days out there. The main thing that we took away was like maybe a portable shower would be nice. We also went hiking and did all this exploring and stuff, and it's like a nice shower would be still nice.
Yeah, like my dream setup, like if I won the lottery, I feel like would be somewhere in like either on some kind of beach thing or up in like the woods, like a much more isolated in nature kind of place. But I could also have, a studio,
access to the city,
internet, the capability to plug in and connect with, and that sort of. I don't want to be fully detached, but being able to be around.
For sure.
That in general, like I was just in Nashville. Our singer bought a house out there, and even just like you walk outside, and there's just huge trees all throughout the neighborhood. Which maybe that's the norm for tons of people. Yeah. But being in Arizona, that's
not the norm.
Not the case. You go outside, and there's just gravel,
rocks,
and cactus, and dirt.
Yeah.
And there's something beautiful about the desert, but it's just a different sort of thing when you go out and it's like, oh wow, there's just like a freshness to it.
Yeah.
It just feels, it's like good for the soul.
Feels nice. Both are important, and maybe it feels so nice to me because I live in the city. Like, and I do like even like the downtown city. Like I used to live in downtown Phoenix. Nice. I love that vibe. I would live in like fucking New York City or like somewhere like high like densely populated. I like that city life. I think that's really cool. But I don't know, something both. I'm kind of the same way. I'd like to have my place where is my home mostly. Maybe I do my work. I'm connected to a lot of people. I'm close to all the things that I like. But I would also like to have somewhere up north that I could, unplug from a little bit, or maybe somewhere on the beach would be fucking sick.
Yeah.
To maybe both of those. So that'd be like the ideal setup. Somewhere up north, just like 2 hours away, and then somewhere on the beach where I could just fucking maybe fly to and enjoy some time out there.
Yeah, man. I've been to New York a couple times. Same with like Chicago or LA. Actually living in LA, I can't imagine moving back there now. But even same with New York. Like just the last time I was there, we went and I met up with some a couple of people that we know there who are there's some great people there. I mean, there's great people everywhere, but man, just even trying to navigate through the city was just stressful.
Yeah,
because I'm constantly just like you have just on the alert for something to like come at you.
Yeah.
Whether it's like a biker or a pedestrian or a car. And it's just
so highly populated.
it's
Densely
very
populated.
chaotic.
Yeah.
And that's exciting and it's neat in a way, but at least for me right now, it's like I just don't want to do that. Like I want calm, predictable, easy.
Yeah, exactly. I also just like where I'm living too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, this area is pretty sweet. I used to live down off of like McKellips and Hayden.
Oh, nice.
Years ago. Yeah, there's a lot of neat stuff in this area.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah. Yeah, I like this area a lot. And then, yeah, I mean, I feel like if you don't like where you live, you should just fucking move to somewhere that you like to. You're not a fucking tree.
Yeah, I feel like it's good to do. Like I grew up thinking Phoenix was just, oh God, can't wait to leave.
Are you from Arizona?
Yeah. I went to
Where'd you go to high school?
Horizon.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
My sister graduated from Horizon.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like some of the more unhappy times in my life were high school, but like I liked being in Phoenix. Like I was friends with some people there, but like I just hated the experience of it. I just kind of was like, man, everything I want to do, I can't do here. Like I gotta get past here to start doing these things. Like in terms of,
so that's when you moved to LA?
No, that came a couple years later, but I started playing with like all the band success I had was not from anyone at my high school. Like I played in some band stuff with some people that were there, but all the people that I was musically working with at the time that we were doing stuff with, they were all not affiliated with high school whatsoever. And I don't know, I just didn't. I don't know, just young, trying to figure things out. Just not happy with anything because mostly just not happy with
angst.
Yeah, like you're not happy at a lot of stuff, but then being older now, you look back, you're like, oh, I just wasn't happy with myself because I just didn't.
You're just an undeveloped young man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you figure those things out as time goes along. But once I did move to LA, and then especially from touring and then living in San Antonio, sort of seeing like, oh, actually Phoenix is like pretty great. Like there's a lot of places
it's fucking
I
cool
would not
there.
want to live.
Yeah.
And Phoenix is definitely a spot that's like, oh, there's a lot to be had here for sure. Summer's not so much, but
the summers are hot, but it's really not so bad.
Yeah, like I like it a lot here. I wouldn't mind somewhere else again. That like if I went anywhere, I'd want to go somewhere that just has more,
nature.
Yeah, a little bit. Like that's Nashville was cool. There's a good music scene there, but if you go outside of the city a little bit, you're in nature a good amount. Whereas you go outside the city here, it's like you get this big, again, you just get a big lot of gravel and stuff like that, like out in Queen Creek or something.
Well, it depends on where you go, honestly, because like you could that's like kind of why they call it the Valley of the Sun, because like the Phoenix Metro is like this valley, and then especially if you go northern Arizona, the scenery drastically changes.
That's
you
true.
you can drive an hour and go to Payson, which is 5,000 feet elevation, the same elevation as Denver, or you could go to Greer, which is 8,400 feet elevation, way up there.
Right.
It's probably like 50 degrees over there right now, while it's 100 degrees right here.
Right.
Like,
Or even Flagstaff.
Flagstaff is beautiful.
Yep.
They're like 7,000 feet.
My sister lives up there, and I don't know, it gets a little too cold for me. Like it was like 1 degree or something like that on New Year's a couple years ago. Like I just can't.
Yeah, now's the nice time to visit. But Arizona has such a diversity that I absolutely love. There's like so many beautiful places to go.
Absolutely, and everyone needs to live somewhere, and I don't mind it, but
nice.
We'll see. Maybe one day it'll be somewhere else. But for now, I'm pretty happy here.
Me as well.
So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, I've got actually a little bit of work and stuff to do before training tonight, so let's wrap it up. We got almost 2 hours in.
Yeah, all good, man. Dude, it was a pleasure. Thanks for inviting me down. This is a really cool setup you got.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you very much for coming. Do you want to give a shout out on your socials or anything like that?
Oh, I mean, I don't know. Find just Ben Anderson, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff. Band is nothing more. We got a tour coming up in September. We're not playing Phoenix, so can't come out there. But we're playing a bunch of other places. If you happen to be watching this from, where are we playing? Dallas and a bunch of other places.
Nice. Awesome.
Come check out a show. Say hi, buy a shirt.
I'd love to come check out a show sometime. That would be really cool. Maybe next time you're playing in Phoenix, I got to know when that's happening.
Yeah, it'll be hopefully next year. We have like a European tour we're doing in February, and then we're looking at more U.S. stuff, I think, for next spring or summer. But Phoenix will for sure be on the docket then. So
nice.
Yeah, man.
Anytime.
Or if you ever want to go on the road somewhere, and if we happen to be playing there, just let me know. Get you on the list. So
okay, awesome. Yeah, I'd love that. Yeah, man. Cool. Awesome. Well, awesome. Well, thank you again for coming. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man. Good times. Appreciate you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the No Credentials Podcast. Thank you for listening.